The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. You're listening to The Secrets of Technology. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. Joining me today on the panel are Joanne Mercier. Hey, Joanne.
Happy summer, Dom.
That's right. And Father Cory Sticha. Hey, Father Cory.
Hello.
I want to tell you everyone about a show on the StarQuest Network you're sure to enjoy called The Secrets of Movies and TV Shows. It's summertime. That's time for movie blockbusters, and we're talking about all kinds of movies and TV shows there. You can check that out wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/secrets. So I want to start today with some listener feedback from our last episode. We did episode 216. We talked about curating your social media for mental and spiritual health. And we got a nice comment from Ben on YouTube who wrote, "Wow, the best episode yet. You were literally reading my mind. Stuff that's designed to get you mad, avoiding the scrolling, Discord being great because it's interest focused, and always avoiding the comments. 10 of 10, fellas." Thank you, Ben. I appreciate your comment. Great. I'm glad that you enjoy that. And I felt like we were hitting on all cylinders when we were talking about that, because that's an important subject. And I feel like that was, when I was done, I felt great about it. Put it that way. So thank you. So that anybody would like to send in feedback on any of our shows, you can do that commenting at YouTube, or you can send us email to technology@sqpn.com. As Joanne alluded to as we were starting, it is summer as we record this. Finally, summer is here, which means, at least where we are in the Northern Hemisphere. Sorry, friends down south.
They just had their summer. They're fine.
Yeah, really. Yeah. They're okay.
Yes, they are. But summertime is often when we go traveling, we go on vacations and of various kinds. And so we wanted to talk about tech, so hardware, software, and tech tips for getting the most out of your traveling of any kind, business or pleasure or whatnot. And trips can take a couple different forms. You can be road trips, you can be plane trips, you can be going near and far. We kind of want to cover it all. Now, we're not going to talk too much about camping, because we did 2 episodes on that last year. So I'll put links to those in there. And so there's all kinds of camping tech in there, but this is more, regular road trips and that sort of thing, vacations and business trips and that sort of stuff. So let's start by talking about some hardware we like to use when we travel. This is particularly relevant because, Father Cory, you just got back from a plane trip, yes. But you also live in Montana, where you're often taking long road trips. So I can imagine that you have quite a bit of car tech that you use.
I got a few things that get used, and some of the things are built in. We'll talk about a couple of things here that are built in, and a couple of things that you really help when you're out traveling. So yeah, absolutely. So
one of the things that I like to have in both of my vehicles, I have a Honda, but I also have a big family van that we use. And one of the things I like to have is an in-car AC adapter. And a lot of cars now have, the old, what I used to call the lighter, but now it's like a DC 12 volts adapter.
Power port, they call it now. But it's the old cigarette lighter port.
Or they have USB things, but sometimes you still have stuff that requires a regular old plug, maybe a cooler, or a laptop or whatever. And so one of the things I'm going to recommend to check out is a power inverter, a AC, a DC to AC power inverter. I've got one in the show notes. I don't own this particular one, but there are tons of them on Amazon that are out there. This one is pretty nice because it delivers 150 watts of power, which is pretty good. And it also has 2 USB ports to add some extra power. So that would be a pretty good recommendation, I would say, is to have something like that on hand, even if you don't necessarily need it all the time, but to have it available, a way to plug things in conventionally.
they are very nice to have, because you can use for things that you might not have a 12-volt version of, or sometimes if your 12-volt phone charger or whatever USB plug isn't working right or isn't putting out enough power, you can plug right in with your wall-wart. I'm kind of fortunate. One of my vehicles actually has one built in. It's a factory option. Mm-hmm. You'll see more and more of that. There's actually more and more vehicles that have the AC adapters on the dashboard or in a console somewhere. But for a lot of vehicles, having one of these around, I've had one for over 20 years that it's great to have just to plug in your computer or something like that if you need to. So this is highly recommended.
Yeah. A few hurricanes ago, I ended up getting one, and it actually fits in the cup holder.
Oh wow!
And it's 2 plugins, so it's not and works fairly well still. It sits around in my trunk, but again, when I need it, I put it in, and it still works. So
right. Heck, you could run your coffee maker off of it when you're if you don't have any power in the house. You could go in the car, turn on the car, and get a cup of coffee.
Should make sure to have the caveat. These are not designed for heavy duty hair dryers and curlers and things like that. You can blow them out. You can get versions that you can permanently mount to the battery, connect to the battery that can do that. But the ones that you plug into the 12-volt, don't try to dry your hair. Don't try to curl your hair. Don't do stuff like that. Fridges.
Like I would do that.
Yeah. Well, no,
don't
not
plug
you
your fridge into it or freezer.
But it's just that's one thing when we're talking about some of these things that are dealing with electricity. We do have to have the caveats. There are going to be things that you're not going to be able to normally do using this. But again, there's a lot of things you can do with it. So
definitely. Now, another thing, a lot of newer cars already have, they either have CarPlay or Android Play, or they have Bluetooth built in. My Honda does. My van does not. And so we're still in, but it does have an auxiliary jack. And so
there you go.
You could still, I don't have to deal with the tape cassette adapter thing. Man, I hated those things.
Gee, let's not go that far back.
Or the FM adapters back in the day. Oh, those were terrible.
They're still out there.
Yeah. All things Anchor. I'm as much an Anchor fanboy as I am a SetApp fanboy. And so Anchor has a Bluetooth receiver that you can install, and to make sure it's a receiver, there's sometimes transmitters, those won't work. You want a receiver that plugs into the auxiliary jack, and then you can play your sound, or we often do audiobooks or whatever over the speaker sound system. One thing I would add is you might need to get a ground loop isolator, because when you've plugged in your phone and the Bluetooth receiver, it can create an electrical feedback thingy. I don't have to get into the details, but when it creates a whine in the audio, which is really annoying. And so the ground loop isolator takes that out.
The nice thing is you can find one. I had one again on a previous vehicle that it had a battery, and you could run for quite a few hours off the battery, 8 to 10 hours off the battery. So if you can find a receiver with the battery, that takes that issue out. You just charge it when you're not using it with your phone. But it's if you don't have Bluetooth, and I think most vehicles today have Bluetooth, if nothing else, because that's part of the hands-free phone system that they're putting in most cars. It doesn't cost them that much more to put in. But again, if you've got an older vehicle, older than say about 10 years old or so, you might not have it. So these are nice to have.
I mean, my van is a 2015 Ford Transit. So, but it's big Catholic family van, and I'm gonna guess we have more than one of those in our audience. So
it's lower level options, obviously, too. If you bought the bare bones package that barely has power windows, if even that, then.
The funny thing is it has Sirius XM, so it's kind of weird that it didn't have Bluetooth, unless it's in there and I never found it, because in the manual, sometimes these operating systems for these interfaces for car systems. So those are a couple I want to mention. Joanne, do you have any that you want to talk about? Any hardware that you recommend?
Well, I've had a go-to item for a very long time, and it's the Belkin wall mount surge protector. It has 3 AC outlets and 2 USB-A. ports. And I'll tell you, I've taken that everywhere. You think when you get to a hotel or even to your friend's house, you know, you're going to be able to plug in all your devices. I feel very bad for my friends when I come over. They're like, oh no, we do not have enough power for you. but still, I think when I looked back at this, I ordered this particular device in 2012. And it's still going. So anytime I travel, I throw that in because I'm guaranteed to get most of my things charged off of one. Plus, if you're in a hotel, there are surges a lot. And I haven't blown it yet, but just in case, I would not want to do that. So that's one of my favorites.
A multi-port, like a power surge protector, you know, with a cable, or this one, which is all integrated and small. When you travel with your family and everyone's got their own phone, their own devices, you're going to need this. I actually bring a multi-port USB charger, so you know, that plugs into the surge protector, and I can charge 5 or 6 devices off of it, because, you know, when we travel, you get, you know, several phones. I got Kindles, I got an iPad, you know, all that sort of stuff is going to be charged up.
Well, even if you just have a smartwatch and a phone and a tablet, that's 3 devices that need plugs. And sometimes it's not always the most efficient to use the USB plug, especially in hotels. You don't really want to trust those lamps.
No, you don't. No, please. No, you don't want to trust those lamps. No, but even for my husband and I, we've got like 5 or 6 devices between us. So this thing has been the most wonderful thing because it is very compact, and you put on the USB-A's what you don't mind charging slow, and you put everything on the AC outlets that you want to charge up quickly.
Right. Now, something similar that I have is another Anker product. It's the Anker 733 Power Bank. And what makes this interesting is that it plugs into the wall, so it's kind of a wall wart. It's got several USB outlets, USB-C and USB-A, does power delivery, but it also has a battery inside, so it can actually act as a charger even when it's not plugged in. And so that's kind of, it's a bit pricey. It's $100, but I use this now as the power brick for my laptop. Whenever it just stays in my laptop bag, because it can power the laptop when it's not, you know, as off the battery or off the wall. So that's really nice.
That's a good thing too to think of, is not just something like this, but in generic a backup battery. You know, not the little battery packs that you can use to charge your phone off of. They're not that expensive. You can find some decent ones that'll do a good job. Where even if all it does is give you, you know, another couple hours of charge before you can get to where you're going. You know, and to have that available, because that talking about my trip, you know, went overseas, and that was nice to have. I could keep that in my bag with my phone. Plug it in real quick as we're going around doing our things, and it was so much nicer.
Right. As you're out and about all day, like when I'm at home, my phone's always, you know, on a charger, but as you're out and about all day long, you're going to use it up. And as we'll talk about probably with the airplane stuff, is when your boarding passes and all that sort of stuff is on your phone.
Exactly.
When that's dead, you're in trouble. So better have a battery backup.
Exactly.
Father Cory, do you have anything for road tripping that you want to talk about?
So one thing I put on here is something I did as a pick of the week a long time ago. And it's something I still use every time I'm in my vehicle. I have one in each vehicle. It's it's a magnetic mount, magnetic phone holder, Magic Mount magnetic phone holder by Scosche. Scosche makes all kinds of little gadgets and gizmos for cars. And they also make adapters for aftermarket radios and stuff. But this is something where it's a little thing you put on your dash, and then you put a little piece of metal basically that stick to the back of your phone case. And I don't know how it works with the Apple magnetic charging now, but with my case, it's a little piece of metal you put on your phone case, and you just smack the phone right up to it, and it sticks magnetically. And I put it right on my dash where the phone's not really line of sight, but it's where I can glance at it real quick if I need to. Yeah, but hands-free, and it's safe, it's out of the way, and it's great for when you're doing stuff like podcasts. You know, if you need to quickly, you know, scroll to another podcast, or Google. If you don't have built-in navigation, you don't have Android Auto or CarPlay, you can use it. You know, if you can use the phone for your Google Maps or whatever. So
nice.
Yeah, that's a great thing if you're traveling a lot, or if you're, you know, for commuting or road tripping or whatever. Because again, your phone's just right there. It's out of the way.
Excellent. Joanne, did you have another thing you want to mention?
Yeah, I'm going to go with one of the two that I had left. This one definitely is for women, but I find out that women usually end up taking lots of things from their male companion because they run out of room. This is a very low tech, but it is for your hardware. Vera Bradley makes a packable backpack. Okay, so it's about 5 inches by 5. Okay, it starts off that way, but every time you go somewhere, you always end up buying more things and trying to stuff them into your suitcases, or you're on a shopping trip in a village or something, and you don't want, or they don't have bags. This is something that you can unpack. It's a backpack. You can stuff all things in it. It's got a liner on the inside, so it's, if you put something that's wet in there, it's not going to drip through, and it's like $45. I bought one a long time ago and always pack it with me because it's inevitable that we will have extra stuff by the end of a trip. And it has to go somewhere, and usually it's my iPad or something that I don't want to stuff in a suitcase,
Right.
so I'm going to put it in there and have an extra bag. So I figured I'd include something that was a little low tech, but for your tech.
And it's got some nice patterns. It's feminine, which is I think a problem with a lot of tech bags is they tend to be very bland gray and black, or sometimes they have colors, but they're not particularly, they don't have patterns and that sort of stuff. So that's nice.
Yeah, but you can still get their black and gray one if you want to be.
That's right.
If you want to keep that. And they also make them in totes and duffel bags.
Nice.
Same thing. They fold down really small, but they're really hefty afterwards.
Good.
Nice.
Let's move on to talking about some plane trip tech hardware that would be useful. I'm just going to mention the obvious one, which is noise canceling headphones. Airplanes have that droning noise to the engines, and noise canceling headphones are perfect for dealing with that sort of noise. So whatever type of noise canceling, you can get the Bose ones, you can get AirPods Pro, whatever it is, but noise canceling headphones.
Even some basic passive noise canceling where there's where it's not a powered, it's not listening to the sound outside and reversing it. Just like the headphones we use for this, where they're over the ear, they can block out a lot of the outside sound. That helps a lot.
Yes,
that helps so much. As I said, I flew over to Italy, and I had the privilege on couple of flights to fly first class, and they had their nice headphones, and that does help a lot for sound. But yeah, it was nice. It was a nice upgrade. I was happy.
I've never gotten upgraded, so I'm jealous of the upgrade. And to go with that is something from a company called 12 South called the AirFly. So if you use your AirPods, you can't plug them into anything, and most airlines, in-flight entertainment doesn't do Bluetooth. Because how could they possibly, on a plane? So what this does is it plugs into the jack. It's a Bluetooth transmitter sort of like what we were talking about with the Anchor device, but this is specifically designed for airline travel. And so it's called the AirFly, and it can, I think there's the AirFly, there's the AirFly Duo, which lets 2 people connect to the same audio source. So, if your traveling companion can watch with you using their AirPods. And then there's another one called the AirFly Pro, which adds the ability to stream from your phone to an auxiliary jack. So it does the opposite direction. So you remember what I was saying about transmitter versus receiver. So the one for the car is a receiver. This is a transmitter.
Nice.
Right? Yeah, transmitter.
Yep.
So those two things, and the AirFly, the basic AirFly is $55. So, but if you travel a bit, it might be worthwhile.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let's see, Father Cory, do you have any other bits of tech advice for travel in the area?
So one thing when you're traveling overseas, obviously they have different power systems. And they also have different plugs. You can't take your North American plug if you're from North America and plug it in Europe or vice versa. And so you need, I'm going to kind of steal this from Dom because he put it on there, but
no, that's fine.
The universal power adapter. Now, if you've traveled overseas, you've had the adapters of one sort or another. And of course, used to be you just get the big bag that had all the different types. Well, now they've got these really cool all-in-one units where on the front it looks like you go on the airplane and it's got the plugs where you can plug like every conceivable type of plug into it. And on the back, you can flip out this type that you need. So if you're going to Europe, you pull out the 2 pins. If you're going to the UK, it extends out the 2 plus the bottom piece and so on. And so this is great where you don't have to worry about where am I going and what kind of plug do I need? And you can get them, like the one I've got is just the plugs. It doesn't have anything else. It does have a surge suppressor. They're the one that can be linked to in the show notes. Well, it also has USB capability where you can plug USB right off of it. Now with these, one thing you need to be careful of if you're going over to Europe from North America, 110 versus 220. North America is 110. Japan is 100. I think it is. It's similar systems. Europe is 220. These do not do the conversion. Right. You also will need the inverter that drops from 220 to 110.
Now, a lot of electronics the power supplies these days are universal. Like if you have a laptop,
right.
That'll be a universal. So you don't need to. Right.
Yeah, your basic cell phone, your laptop, those wall warts. Most of those are 220. I remember this was a while ago when I went to World Youth. I still had something that needed the inverter. Yeah. I still had one thing that needed the inverter. Otherwise, you could just plug it into the regular wall. That wall mount surge suppressor that Joanne mentioned works great with these.
Oh, good.
Because then you can plug that into, you plug that into this, and those are usually rated for 220, I would assume as well. And then you can plug anything you need into that if you need more than one. So then you don't have to buy more than one of these.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah. So that because these are very light with the inverter built in, they're very heavy. So,
yes,
I think it's rare these days, unless you have something like a hair dryer you're taking or a curling iron or something like that has no smarts in it. Most electronics will be smarter, will have that universal power adapter built in, but double check, make sure that you're
look at it. I actually had to, with my phone, my adapter for my phone, I actually had to pull out my camera and take a picture because the print was so tiny.
It is so tiny these days,
which is ridiculous.
And it's gray on black or tiny.
But yeah, these are nice. I did an extension cord with the multiple plugs on the end, but they're nice to have one of these around for that purpose.
Any other hardware that you recommend for a plane flight?
Well, I'm going to, after I drop that into the cart, on my cart on Amazon, I'm starting to prepare myself for flying again. It's been about 22 years or so since I've been in a plane.
Oh, wow.
And I came across this universal in-flight airplane phone holder. Okay. My fear is they will not have something I want to watch or I've seen already 4 times. So this is a small flexible mount that you can put right on the desk tray.
The tray table? Yeah.
On the tray table, whatever. I don't know what they're called anymore.
I'm hoping
it would be a desk.
Yeah, the novice traveler again. Yes.
Yes, here we go. I know you can also use them on your desk, on your regular desk at home, but at least it gives you an option to watch whatever you have stored on your phone. Some people like to do that. So, and I believe it fits, any size phone. That we've got going right now, from the smallest to the largest. So, and it's only $10.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
So some airlines are actually going away with from the behind the seat screen, the back of the seat screen, and everything's over Wi-Fi.
Oh.
So you have to use your own device, your own phone or iPad.
Bring in their own stuff these days. That's interesting.
So
yeah,
I think most people do, don't they?
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you're on an airplane, you see a screen in front of everybody that's not on the back of the chair.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's more and more the airlines, because they can save money by not putting that big LCD screen with all the computer and everything, when they can just let you use your own device.
Speaking of which, if you've got kids, they're sitting next to each other, they want to watch a movie on an iPad, they want to listen to it, you can get just simple Y adapters just for plugging in things, so wired headphones, and you just plug one thing into the iPad, and then it's got two things coming out of it that you can plug headphones in. Yeah, that's another one I recommend. All right, that's a nice little thing. Prevents you from having to look down. You can look straight ahead at your phone, so you don't get a crick in your neck. That's a great idea. I like that one.
Or sit and hold the phone for 3 hours as you're flying.
Not fun.
Or 9 hours, or if it's international.
Right. So let's talk about some software. That would be great. One thing I want to mention, if you have a Mac that you're taking with you, like a laptop, this app called Trip Mode, it's available via SetApp, but it's also available separately. I've had it for years. What it does is it lets you set locations, so you tell it, when I'm in this location, and there are various ways to determine that, like what kind of Wi-Fi you're on or that sort of thing. You should allow these apps to connect to the internet that are on this computer and not allow these other ones. For example, when you're in a hotel room and you are, you don't necessarily want your Dropbox to be syncing a gigabyte file. Tell me how I know that over the hotel Wi-Fi. So
Whoops.
yeah, so because it's slow as anything.
Yeah,
you can tell it to block certain apps from accessing the internet when it's not on your home or you're on your work, internet. And frankly, that's another way to use it is if you have a device you bring from home to work and back again or to the coffee shop, you can also do it for that sort of thing. So Trip Mode is a nice little, very configurable piece of software. I just recommend it. Another one I don't use myself because I don't travel enough, but one thing I've heard a lot about, and it won an Apple Design Award this year, is called Flighty. And this is like I've heard from so many people, it's the way to track, to take, how do I put it? To oversee all of your flight issues, all of your flights, your hotels, to get notified of changes in your gate, changes in the, departure times. All kinds of really powerful information about, your travel. So Flighty, it's expensive. It's like $50 a year, but
I used Flighty. My best friend is an expat in Italy. So I've used Flighty on a, free trial to when they were here the last time. It really is a robust app. It will give you everything you want. But if you want something that doesn't cost a subscription, then I would go with the FlightAware flight tracker.
Yep.
That also works.
That's
very well.
Those are great.
It's an old standard, but it still works very well.
And if you're flying yourself, obviously you're going to know what airline you're on or what train you're on. Getting the app for your flights. So if, like I flew Delta, so having the Delta app, because obviously it helps you, keep track of where your flight is. It helps you, what gate are you going to be at next. You can handle it. You can do the electronic ticketing where you just scan your QR code off your phone instead of the paper tickets, all that kind of stuff. But they also use that for if there's problems, if your flight is delayed, your flight has been changed to XYZ, it gives you notifications. So that's a good thing to have too. The Flighty is great, obviously if you're watching for someone or you're waiting for your flight or, but having the actual apps for the airlines you're on or the train service you're on is essential too.
Yeah. I've used the Amtrak app and it's a very nice app and you can get to them through it. So that's also a plus because you can ask for help and they'll get back to you.
That's true. Yeah, getting the boarding passes and stuff and tickets in the app. Yeah. Which on a Mac, on an iPhone, it puts it in the wallet and you just scan it there. Yeah, that's really nice.
Same with Google. Can do the same thing. And the nice thing too is I was on. So long story short, I was on a ticket that was, so let's say flexible because it was an employee perk ticket.
Okay.
As part of my trip. And so my seat changed multiple times throughout this trip as I was upgraded or changed or moved and so not having to have multiple paper copies of now, is this the current one or is this the current one? It's just right there in the app.
Nice.
And that helps a lot.
It's so much better than the old days when we had those paper things we got from the travel agent.
Yeah.
What a world we live in. What a world. All right. So here's one. It's a prurient subject, but everyone's going to love it.
I needed this in Italy. We needed this in Italy. We so needed this in Italy.
Just looking at it makes me laugh.
It's called Flush, and it is a toilet finder app. And
yes.
Whatever cities that it tracks, and it actually says 100,000 public bathrooms all around the world. it will tell you where the closest one is, whether it's public accessible, whether you need a key, whether it's accessible to the disabled, does it cost anything? I tell you, there was a few years ago when I had my boys in Boston for a Cub Scout event, and my poor son, I don't know, he had something to disagree with him, and we were trying to find bathrooms everywhere like we went through the city, and it was, if we'd had this, life would have been so much easier. The poor kid that was having a tough time. But especially in like foreign countries, Father Cory, as you alluded to, it can be hard to find a public bathroom that's accessible.
Not every convenience store is going to have a public accessible bathroom. Not every restaurant's going to have one. I got to the point where if we were anywhere near St. Peter's Square, I just went in and went to use the public bathroom at St. Peter's Square.
There's some nice bathrooms.
It was the easiest way to do it. It was convenient. It was good, clean bathrooms, and it was free. Other places, you're going to go and we have a bathroom, Monte Cassino, with the home abbey of Benedictines.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a bathroom, but it's 50 euro cents.
Yep.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So knowing stuff like that, pay bathrooms are fairly common in Italy, at least.
Right.
At least we found.
It just says we have an app for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
There is an app for everything anymore.
I wish I would have known about this before we went to Italy. I would have downloaded it and used it frequently, because there were times when kids were scrambling we finally found a bathroom and it was a mad rush.
Well, the other thing is fast food places, like American fast food places, will generally like McDonald's or KFC or whatever.
McDonald's.
Yep. You'll find a public bathroom in those. Joanne, you had an app that it's kind of in a special category because you can't get it.
Yeah, and because it's been my go-to app for I don't know how long, the Nightstand Central. It was an iPhone and iPad app that had the best system. You would have your weather, you would have your time, it could set multiple alarms. It was great, and it was nice and big. So that you could see it on a nightstand.
Right. It functioned as an alarm clock, turned your phone into an alarm clock on your bedstand.
Right.
Yeah.
The minute I saw that the new phone, that iOS 17 was going to be able to do that, I said, I wonder. And when I went looking for our show today, I can't find it anywhere. On Reddit, I found out that about 7 months ago, it disappeared.
Right.
Out of the App Store. So it got Sherlocked, folks. But if you still have it, if anybody out there has this app, use it now. I'm still using it. It's a great app, and it's great for travel because wherever you go, it changes location, it changes weather, it changes everything. But if you use it or lose it, because I have a feeling in another couple of months they'll probably just discontinue it totally.
Yeah, the nice thing is actually, a lot of times, if there are apps that are removed from the store, if you've already bought it, it's still available to download if it's in your account in many cases, unless they have to remove it for safety reasons in the App Store. It's still there for you. It's like if you upgrade your phone and they'll re-download it from the next time and that sort of thing. So if you bought it in the past, it might still be in your account.
I looked.
Oh, interesting. So it's not even there.
But it's on my devices.
Right.
It's on my phone and my 2 iPads, so I can still use it.
Right.
Unless I get rid of it.
No, it might be in your account.
Now.
It might. It's not on the store, but it might be in your account of list of purchased software. It might be.
You might still. Like if you got a new phone, you might still be able to download it.
Yeah.
As part of your recovery.
I've had a few things where that was the case, but maybe not. Maybe not.
Hey, as long as it still works until iOS 17.
Yep. Father Cory, you had another app that you like to use that I agree with. Or is that you, or is that Joanne who had the?
No, that's me. I think Gas Buddy.
Gas Buddy, right?
Gas Buddy is my go-to. Look, I live in Rhode Island, work in Massachusetts, and I am looking always for the cheapest good gas, not the real cheap, but the cheapest. And this thing saves my bacon more than anything else. You can do it by location. You can mark favorites. You can attach credit cards to the thing, which I do not, but it really finds you and gives you the entire list. The only way, because it's crowdsourced, you really have to be careful, because if you have to look to see when was the last time it was updated. Because if you don't, you could be, by the time you get there, it could be like, wait a minute, that's not what Gas Buddy said. it's all based on crowdsourcing. And I do help when I go there. I'll go into Gas Buddy afterwards and say, no price change, here it is. So I think it's a really good app to have in your arsenal of apps.
Yeah.
Especially if you're on a road trip.
I'll have to get in. I just noticed that my little gas station here doesn't get updated, so I'll have to make sure to kind of get in the habit of doing that.
Nice.
They tend to be a little more expensive with Great Falls. For me, it's more convenience, but
yeah.
To tie into that, a lot of the fuel station chains, Sunoco there in the East Coast, Sinclair and Conoco here in the West, they have their own apps. And if you hook up your credit card or your direct withdrawal, you'll get so much off if you use that to activate the pump.
Yeah.
Instead of going, swiping a card at the pump or something like that. And so that's a good thing to do. If you know you're going to be traveling that has a certain type of gas station that you're going to likely use, get the app, have it set up again for your credit card or for your however you do it. And then when you get to the pump, you just say, I'm at this station, this pump, go. And it charges automatically, and they'll generally deduct anywhere from 10 to 20 to 25 cents a gallon for using it.
Yeah, I have the Shell app that does that, and it's a beautiful thing because I hate putting my card in the slot card reader. Because who knows who's been playing with it.
Yep.
Right. I do Apple Pay whenever if I don't have the app, I'll use Apple Pay because you can't spoof that. They can't steal that. Yeah. You got to be careful of those card readers, especially when you're away from home on the road. So a few more things I want to just touch on. Phone service when you go, especially when you go overseas. Almost all smartphones now can do eSIMs. So you have your regular SIM from your home, AT&T, Mobile, T-Mobile, Verizon, but you can get a secondary eSIM, either just data or data and voice. And there's a great website called esimdb.com that will find you services in these other countries. And let me tell you, phone service and data is so much cheaper everywhere else outside the US. It's crazy how much we pay compared to other places. But like, say you were going to France and you would go there and you look up and you go, oh, I can get 10 gigs for 30 days for $14. And it's really easy to set they'll give you instructions for your particular phone, but it's really easy to set up an eSIM, and it doesn't take away, it doesn't affect your regular phone number and all that sort of stuff. So when you're traveling and you want to find a cheaper option, this is a nice thing to have.
No, it's the option I used. I didn't do that route. There's another option you can do as well. Doing the eSIM is great, but for some people that aren't as tech friendly, that might be not a good idea.
Yep.
If you're afraid of it is better than when you actually had to physically remove your old SIM and put the new SIM in overseas. You'd be afraid of losing your regular one.
Yeah.
But the big three, at least here in the United States, do have international service plans. So I believe both Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile, if you go to Canada or Mexico, it's generally part of your regular plan. But if you go to Europe or Asia, Africa, it's not. So what I did was $100 a month, and Verizon, AT&T both have this plan. $100 a month, unlimited data, unlimited text, relatively speaking. Of course, they do have a limit, but it's like 1,000 texts a month or something like that. 1,000 sent texts a month. T-Mobile has something similar. And so I paid $100 and I could use my phone with my number. That's the thing too. If you do the international service plan, people can still contact you at your regular number, even from here in the United States. And it gives you so many minutes for calls, like 240 minutes was Verizon a month for 100. So you are paying for another plan, and it is more expensive than the Europe only plans, like you doing the eSIMs. But if you have reasons why you want to keep your number, why you need to be reached at your regular number, unlimited data, I had unlimited 5G, other than about 30 minutes of kind of futzing with the phone to get it to actually do the roaming.
Yep.
It worked great.
Okay.
Once my phone realized it could roam in Europe, and it did, it was beautiful. I mean, I had no problems with it.
Yeah. I mean, that's sort of the easier route. It's a little more expensive, but it's a little bit easier. So pick your poison. So another service I want to talk about is TripIt. It's kind of like I mentioned with Flighty, which is an app. TripIt also has an app, but especially if you travel a bit, all you do is when you get emails from airlines, hotels, car rental places, you forward those emails to a special address at TripIt, and it recognizes it's from you, and it assembles the itinerary for you. So it's all there in one place, and it does multiple. You can have multiple future trips, all there in one place. It's smart enough to recognize dates and that sort of thing, and it puts it all together for you, nice and neat. And then you can share that with someone, say if someone you're going to travel with, or someone who you're traveling to, and you want them to see your itinerary, that sort of stuff. So TripIt is nice for that. And there's a TripIt Pro, which is a higher level one if you're a frequent traveler. So someone else had a tip about downloading stuff. Joanne?
Yeah, that was me, because sometimes when you go to other places, television is not the way it should be.
Right.
So, and most of us have streaming apps. So take advantage of downloading some of your shows and movies to your iPhone or your iPad. That way you always have something when you're awake at 3 a.m. and there's nothing to do and you can't watch TV. And it's like, okay, I'll watch the Kardashians again. I would never. I do not watch that show. I do not watch The Bachelor, but I have friends who do.
Yeah.
So I watch my soap opera. That's the only thing.
Yes.
So, and that you can't get ahead.
Not every streamer does it, but some streamers will let you download stuff for offline viewing. Yeah.
But remember, it depends on your price plan.
Yeah.
Yep.
So check your price plan out beforehand and you'll know if you can download or not.
I don't know. I kind of enjoyed watching Home and Guard television and Motor Trend television dubbed in Italian.
Really?
It was funny watching. I just happened to flip through and it was one of those, house reveal type shows. And they literally dubbed for each person. So they had whoever was doing the Italian couple that had gotten the house. They had to, oh, wow, this is so great in Italian. This is so beautiful.
That's funny. I can just imagine how that sounded. And then, as we mentioned before, use Apple Pay, Google Pay,
yes,
wherever you can.
Yeah, it's especially, that was one thing in Italy. Italy traditionally was known for being cash only. Well, there's a lot more of the little tap credit card things.
Good.
Yep.
So you don't have to pull out your wallet and, pull out your credit card. You can just bring it up on your Google Pay, Apple Pay wallet, tap. Life is good.
Right.
We even use that on the Autostrada
nice.
in Italy.
Yeah. Gone are the days of traveler's checks. Man, I hated those things.
Oh, me too.
Or just even go to the cambio, the money changer places at the different at the cambios, what they call it in Italy. We had to take your American money and pay a fee to get it changed. Now you can just pretty much you
either use electronic or make sure your debit card is set up for whatever country you're going to before you go, and ATM fix everything, to quote the old Visa commercial.
Yeah. By the way,
nice.
You go to if you're either on your bank's website or your bank's app, if it has an app, there's probably a place to let them know that you're traveling.
Yes. That's a good point.
Let them know that you're traveling so that you don't get fraud alerts. They freeze your stuff until they get a hold of you. And if you're overseas, it can be hard to get a hold of you. So let them know in advance.
Yep, exactly.
So, all right. So that's a lot of good, great tech, hardware, software, and services and tips. So if you've got a great travel, tech idea, let us know. We would love to hear from you. You can send that to technology@sqpn.com. So before we move on, I want to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the secrets of technology, including Olivia A., Matthew C., Annie D., Stephanie D., and Ann K. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the secrets of technology and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. All right. As soon as I saw this headline, this first headline we're going to talk about, I said, this is a topic for Secrets of Tech.
Yes.
Associated Press had this. I saw it other places too. Can a chatbot preach a good sermon? Hundreds attend church service generated by ChatGPT to find out. So this is a bit of a clickbaity thing. So what happened was there was a German Protestant conference, and jokes aside, the guy at this conference, a 29-year-old theologian, put together a worship service entirely generated from ChatGPT. The sermon, the songs, the readings, everything, based on the theme of the event. And people reacted.
Well, and not just was it generated by ChatGPT, but then it was also using, like text to speech avatars and things like that to actually perform, if you will, the service.
Right. Exactly. Now, some people had the the usual reaction of, well, this is kind of odd or even sacrilegious, or other people thought it was an interesting idea. But as the guy who did it said, like, this isn't really about we should replace preachers with AI, but he wanted to draw attention to the idea that we could, like, just like we use commentaries to help us, write sermons, maybe people could use AI, text models like ChatGPT to generate ideas for sermons. What did you think of this overall, and about some of these ideas that they advanced? Father Cory, you first, of course.
I admittedly, I've not really played with ChatGPT or any of the other AI tools out there. I guess I haven't been that interested. I don't know. I could see this being used as a sermon generator, as an idea of, get the basic outline of a sermon and then fill it in. I could see stuff like that. Like you mentioned, a commentary or a homily help or something like that. I'm trying to resist the jokes about my brother priests and needing to use this for helping their homilies, but that's another story.
Yeah.
No, I think it's just another tool that can be used to help for writing. I don't see it as something that a preacher should rely on as I'm going to create my entire sermon by saying, here's the Bible passage, give me a 10-minute sermon. I don't see that going well ever. And I don't think a preacher should do that, because, as when we preach, we should be bringing some of ourself into it. We should be bringing our knowledge and our experience and our skills, and ChatGPT can't do that.
Right. Yeah. Some of the complaints were that it just felt flat, like lacked emotion, lacked spirituality, was full of platitudes. So, Joanne, what do you think?
In other words, some sermons I've heard. Oh.
I'm biting my tongue because as one who is the recipient of sermons, but also as one who has learned how to put them together, it is not an easy task. And I can't see, I can see the potential downside of farming it out to a Chat GPT right now, because it's the early days, and let's be experimental, or this is how we got in trouble after Vatican II, so let's not try it again.
Experimenting, yes.
Folks, and when I hear that it put the service together, now look, that's what I do. Okay. And I'm sorry, you really need to know every single intricate piece of what goes into it. And I don't think, and even though you could put all that stuff into a chat, an artificial intelligence, you still can't read the room. The artificial intelligence cannot read the room.
Right.
So you still have to be able to switch things up in real time, whether it's a sermon or whether it's a ritual. So I'm sorry.
And it doesn't know your community, like your community.
Right.
That's the idea, is homilies and the elements of the mass itself, the liturgy itself, are shaped for the community that is participating in this worship. That's part of the point. So yeah. Well, the other thing too is, someone pointed out in the article was, these AIs, they go out and they look at all of the stuff that's out there about it and then kind of distill it. Well, there's all kinds of stuff out there about Christianity. I mean, even like crazy ideas. So what you have is the danger of watering down this soup of Christianity into something that doesn't really apply to anybody, or it has weird fringe beliefs or whatever. So that's part of the danger of this sort of thing. Just some things you can't replace the people. And I think this is one of those things.
Again, I think it can be a good help, but I wouldn't try to rely on it. And I would, if any of my brother priests or preachers are listening, don't go the temptation to try to make it right your whole thing. It's not going to work.
It's not. Walk away. Run away.
Yep.
Stay with the books. Stay with the books.
Mm-hmm.
So our next headline is from the New Yorker, and it's an article about the headline is "How to Find a Missing Person with Dementia," and it tells some really heartrending stories about some, the people who with dementia, Alzheimer's, various kinds, who wander away and get lost. It's a problem. Anyone who's worked with anyone who with various forms of dementia knows how that the idea of the person walking out the door and disappearing is a constant concern. And a couple of parts of the tech parts of this is the people working on ways to track dementia patients, balancing that against their right to privacy and autonomy. And sometimes with dementia, they don't want the devices that you give them for their safety. And so then there's this tension between respecting their rights, but also taking care of them and caring for them. My own mom, who passed away earlier this year, suffered with dementia for the remaining, several remaining years of her life. And she had paranoia about stuff, and she thought my brother was out to get her, and other things like that, which was just tragic. But this is a real problem. I mean, what do you think of this balance between their autonomy, their right to their privacy, and keeping them safe?
It's tough. I've dealt with it twice now, and you have to keep them safe. And I know I've had both family members in my life wear the ankle bracelets. And even though I really didn't like that, if there is a way to keep them safe, but still allow them their as much autonomy as you can, that's always a good thing. But it really comes down to safe, because they have no idea. It's not really them, and they're not functioning in a real cohesive way. So
yeah,
it's hard.
Yeah, I worked in a nursing home in high school, and we had a number of residents who were Alzheimer's or some other form of dementia. And yeah, it was, they had the ankle bracelets because if they got out the door, they were gone. By the time we could catch them, they're halfway to downtown or wherever they're going, and it was very difficult sometimes to try to keep that on there. Keep that on their ankle, keep that on their wrist or wherever you'd put it. And there are, some technology tools can help. There are the fall necklaces and things like that, pendants that they can hit the button if they fall or whatever. But if they aren't going to wear it, if they're going to fight against it, and especially if they're in that intermediate stage where they still have a little bit of autonomy left, but they're so completely confused and they become very confused very quickly. And they're going to see this bracelet, they're going to see the anklet, and they're going to rip it off. They're going to take it off, and then they're going to run off and get lost. And the article tells about a story about a woman where she was at they were at a museum, and she took off, and next thing they know, they found her 10 miles, or her body 10 miles away, years later.
Yeah. That's one of the things they said. It's hard to find people with dementia when they go missing like this, because they tend to not leave clues where they went. The best you can hope for is someone noticed them, or there was a camera. So one of the things they mentioned is giving them, smartwatches, smartphones. But again, if it has to stay charged, they have to keep it on them. There is something called Project Lifesaver that started in 1999, where they have bracelets that can be remotely activated once a person's gone missing, and then emit a radio signal every few seconds. Now, I'm guessing it's just a standard radio signal where you have to drive around and triangulate it. I'm guessing it's not like a cell signal, but that might be something to explore in the future.
Yeah, especially if it's something like rubbery that they can just put on and because I think it would be helpful. How many times are we seeing silver alerts now?
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's the one of the things they mentioned in the article is like the silver alerts, which are themselves of only, middling utility, because who noticed, like you notice a kid who's unaccompanied or might be, but just an older person out walking does not gather attention necessarily. They're just a person walking.
And a lot of times the silver alerts are when someone who has dementia gets in their car and drives off.
Right.
Yeah.
And then at least you have the car.
Right.
If they stay with it. Now, this is where I wonder if something related to like an AirTag, Apple AirTag technology would help.
Oh.
But it would have to be something that you put in something they're going to keep.
Yeah.
Like if you've got someone who she's carried a purse for 60 years, and that purse, there's nothing in it, but she's got that purse with her. and will never let go of that purse, then you can put an AirTag in there, and that would be a great help.
Or a locket or something.
Or a shoe.
Or
if
in the
sew
shoe.
it into a shoe, maybe.
Yeah. And I wonder if maybe we'll start to see more like wearable type things where you can sew it into a particular sweater that they'll always wear, or, you know, some of their clothing that can be washable, you know, stuff like that. I wonder if we'll, you know, start to see technology like that sometime soon.
That would be nice.
Where every shirt you sew in one of these little tags. They don't know it's there, but it will act like an AirTag that every time they go past someone with a smartphone, it'll ping.
Subcutaneous transponders like a Star Trek?
Yeah, there you go.
No.
Microchips.
Microchip.
No, we don't want to get into that.
Look, I chipped my dog. I don't think I want to be chipped myself.
Right. No. I agree. Our last headline is kind of a funny one. Because everyone hates CAPTCHAs, right? That thing we have to find all the fire hydrants. I can't even see them.
Prove you're human. I can't, so I guess I'm not human.
Yeah. So this headline is CAPTCHA is asking users to identify objects that don't exist. Now, Discord, which we have a Discord server, Discord sometimes asks people to use the CAPTCHA to prove they're human as they log in, and they're using like AI to create the images. So they're not using photos like Google uses Street View photos to do the CAPTCHA. But this is like, I'm not sure why they're ending up like this, but they're creating things like this one example, please click each image containing a Yoko. And you look at it and you go, a what? And then you have like the weird, like melted Rubik's Cube, distorted globe, and a round thingy. Maybe that's the Yoko? I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I was
going to say it's a picture of Yoko Ono.
I was just going to say Yoko Ono, yeah.
Is there
hiding behind the globe?
Yeah,
Is there someone in there destroying the Beatles? Come on. It's just kind of wild. Or another one was click each image containing a puzzle cube. And there's a couple things in there that look vaguely like a Rubik's Cube. That's probably what it means. But it's just kind of this weird... This company called HCAPTCHA has been doing this, and some of this, not every one of them that come out is like this, of course, but it's just kind of funny as people encounter these and like, I don't know what to do. How do I get past this? Because I can't figure out what this is.
Yeah, but even when you get the ones, I had to do it this morning, you know, even when you get the ones that find all the crosswalks and you get all the crosswalks you can see, except maybe the one in the corner that has maybe 1/8 of an inch of a crosswalk on it and you miss it, and up comes another CAPTCHA, and it's like, come on, gang, I don't have all day for this.
And what they're doing is they're doing something similar to what Google. So if you use the Google CAPTCHA, what it's doing is it's training the image recognition of Google. So you see the click everything with a bicycle. So it's helping Google understand what a bicycle looks like. Click everything that's got a crosswalk or a traffic signal or a person, or, you know, and it's well, they're doing this. HCAPTCHA is doing the same thing, but they're doing it to train AI to make objects look more real.
Yeah.
More recognizable. And so that's, but it's causing problems where, again, and it doesn't have a skip this process, give me another option type thing.
Right. Show me something real.
Yeah.
So,
or like the one I had this morning where the guy, it said, you know, click the motorcycle. It's a picture of a guy on a motorcycle within the secret squares. So you had to make sure you caught every square that had him in the motorcycle in it.
Right. Yep. It's like, does that little extra corner count or no?
Yeah, exactly.
And if I click it, will I have to start all over again? It's like, a robot would be able to do this.
Yeah, Google. Yeah,
Chat AI could do it.
Yeah. Google's bad for that too, because even if you get them all, it will give you another set of images.
Yeah.
On purpose. It'll give you like a second and third set of images. Like, no, I did this. Yeah. I don't want to do this anymore.
You work for me. You work for me.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on. Those are our headlines. Let's move on to our picks of the week. And Joanne, I'll let you go first. What's your pick this week?
Which I'm sure we've seen in some form in Secrets of Tech, but always worth repeating. It's that time of year again. The American Red Cross emergency apps. They have an app for everything, including ebooks now. They have training in ebook form. So you can get the app that has just that. But I mean, they've got blood donor, they've got pet first aid, they've got, along with hurricane, earthquake, tornado, and a regular emergency. Having these on your iPhone or your iPad is always good to have. because you never know when you're going to need it. And when you go away, you can set different locations of where you're going to be or where you're traveling to, and it will keep up the alerts in those areas. Nice. I have friends traveling from Georgia up here now for a few weeks, and they're going to plot their way up here with that app. So
that's great.
There used to be separate apps for things like earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes. They've incorporated all those things into their one emergency app, which is good.
But
that's great.
But they still have the separate ones.
Well,
so
that's the case. If you have it, it's still it's still on your phone, but I don't think you can get it in the.
I'm seeing it in the App Store.
Oh, you are.
Oh, for like
iOS
the emergencies?
App Store.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have it on their site. Yeah.
Yeah, on their website, they just show the emergency only one, which is great. That's probably the better way to do it, is just put all those kind of emergency alerts in one place.
I like the thing where you can set your own home location, but you can also monitor other locations where, like, I monitor in Texas where my in-laws live, so just how they're doing, and up in Maine where my sister lives, just to keep an eye on if something's going on in those places. I think that's really great. And then you mentioned the other apps. They even have apps for medical professionals and that sort of thing. And they have Alexa skills too, so you can get information from that. So pretty good. Yeah, I second that. American Red Cross emergency apps are great. Father Cory, what's your pick this week?
So I'm picking a streaming service, a video streaming service, TV and movie streaming service that's been around for a while. It's been around about 10 years or so, but it's Tubi. And this is a free streaming service. There is no paid tier on this. So it is ad based. So they do have ads, but it's like a minute or two of ads every 15 minutes. So it's less than watching live TV. Why this came across my radar is there's a new Babylon 5 animated movie coming out here later this summer, and Tubi has all of the series of Babylon 5 available to watch for free. So what do you think I'm doing on it? But they've got hundreds of TV series. They've got bunches of movies. It's all ad based. So you're going to have ad breaks. They seem to do a pretty good job of either coding the ad breaks or that whatever algorithm they use to find the ad breaks in TV series seems to do a pretty good job of finding a good clean breaks where it's not like the aliens coming out, or now wait for this commercial break.
Oh yeah,
that kind of thing, mid-sentence type deal.
Yep.
This seems to do a good job of either scene breaks or natural ad breaks within the series already. So it's free. You can sign up for it. You don't have to. That's the other thing. You do not have to create an account. But if you want to be able to use it over multiple devices, you want to be able to do continuations, things like that, you do need to create an account.
Yeah, I used it to watch Karate Kid with my kids a couple weeks ago. Just, you can watch Karate Kid in other places too, but, for pay or on subscription services. But it was nice just to watch a movie. And
it's free.
I mean, my kids were kind of freaked out by the ads because they're not used to ads, but in general,
new generation.
Why did it stop?
Well, that's another thing. The other thing should mention is they seem to have a good selection of ads, so you don't see the same ad over and over.
Oh,
that's good.
That's what drove me crazy with the Hulu free version, was it would show you the same stupid ad every 10 minutes. Very good. So my pick this week is maybe unexpected. It's a Facebook, a Meta product. It's called WhatsApp. I know I'm always criticizing Facebook, but in this case, WhatsApp kind of came to the rescue for my family. Last year, we started using it. My brothers and sisters and I. We're all iPhone people except for my one sister who's an Android user, and when you cross communicate outside of the ecosystem, you can have trouble getting messages, especially like photos and stuff and videos. Like the videos would come in as tiny thumbnails. And I also had the problem of my family members creating new group messages all the time. So you never know which one is the one where everyone is talking. So WhatsApp is nice because you create a room and then you invite people to the room, and everything is self-contained in there. And it works on Android, it works on Mac and iPhone and every place, Windows apps, and it's free. So I recommend it for families, especially, or other big groups where you need to communicate with lots of people. We started using it especially because both of my parents were, getting older and falling ill and dying, and managing all that as a family was made much more possible because of my, using WhatsApp. So I have to recommend that. It was really good.
Well, this goes into traveling too. If you're places where you only have Wi-Fi, you don't have cell signal, your SMS is not going to work.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you got Apple or Android, it's not going to work. If you've got, you're overseas and you're using the eSIM instead of your international calling plan, you won't get your messages from your regular number until you get back to the States.
Right.
Things like that.
Yeah.
And this is a great option for that. And you can do calling on this too. You can do,
you can,
kind of like FaceTime, similar type things.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's how I communicate with my friend, the expat in Italy. It's WhatsApp all the time through the phone. So it's like having a regular telephone conversation with her. Just know that just like our regular phones and regular texts, there are people who all of a sudden drop in and send you messages, and it's just a quick, block and swipe, and they're out of there.
It has all the same problems that that all the others wouldn't have. But that's a good point too, though, is like when you're overseas, you don't have access to regular phone service. Messaging, especially with the people you're traveling with. That's the great thing. Is you can get that.
And that was the group that I was with. We would those who were the chaperones, the adults of the trip, would use WhatsApp for communicating back and forth. Even though most of us did the international service plans where we could text back and forth too. But this just made it so much easier.
Excellent.
It really did.
Great. All right, so that'll do it for this time. We would love to hear your feedback on anything we talked about. You can do that by commenting on the show at sqpn.com/technology or the StarQuest Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. Send an email to technology@sqpn.com. Visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/Discord. And you can find links from our discussion and our picks of the week on our show notes at starquest.fm/TEC217, Tech217. Please, if you can, take a moment, write a review of the show in Apple Podcasts or one of the podcast directories that lets you do that, and share the podcast with your friends to help us grow this community and reach more listeners. We'd like to thank James for research assistance in this episode, and until next time, Father Cory Sticha, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
Thank you, Dom.
Joanne Mercier, thank you as well.
Thanks, Dom.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to The Secrets of Technology on StarQuest.